Hey there, good morning. Welcome to the JeepSolid garage. It's a little drippy out today, a little wet, but that's not gonna stop us because I gotta take a look at this Jeep because I want this one up and running. This is my 1994 Jeep Wrangler YJ with a 4-liter. And the other day I was driving it and I could smell the brakes. Got out and checked the hubs, just put my hand on the wheel on the hub there. This side was burning hot, like fire hot. Driver's side, it was just warm. So something's going on with the passenger side there. So we're gonna pop the tire off real quick, pop the wheel off real quick and see what's going on. See what parts we need to order. It could be a stuck caliper or the slide where the brake pad slides could be stuck. So let's get it up on a jack stand here. There we go. And buzz that wheel off real quick. If you've got an impact driver like this, these are super handy at buzzing wheels off like this. If you don't have an impact driver, leave your wheel on the ground, break your lug nuts loose before you try to take the wheel off. But these impact drivers work just great. And this is, I'm here in Oregon, so kind of used to the rain. I haven't melted yet. Hopefully I don't melt today. We'll see. Yeah. Slide your wheel underneath, keep you a little safe. And let's check out the brake pad here. And the outer pad looks like it has plenty of pad left. This doesn't feel bad, just feeling for grooves. It's not digging in or anything real bad there. Let's look at the inside pad. And the pad on the inside actually looks okay as well. So I think the caliper's just sticking, so I don't think I have to order any parts. I'm just gonna take the caliper off, grease up the slides, grease up the pins. We'll get to all that, but honestly, I'm gonna wait until this rain stops. It's supposed to slow down this afternoon. I'm gonna get out of the rain so I don't get wet, all my equipment doesn't get wet. We'll pick this up in a minute. Primarily, I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to run to the store to get something, order something online, get some parts coming this way. But because all those pads look okay, I think we can get away with just greasing everything up and then going from there. So I'm back. It's actually a few days later. The rest of the day, honestly, it ended up raining the rest of that day. It wasn't supposed to. The weather forecast, the weatherman was wrong. Wow, imagine that. Anyways, I've got the wheel off, got everything else I need right here. I like to put some cardboard down, and I got my grease because we're gonna pull the caliper pins off, re-grease them, check to make sure the caliper is free, check the pads and all that. One good tip, always throw your wheel under your vehicle when you're working on it like this, when you got it up on jack stands. In case the vehicle falls, it happens on occasion, it's gonna catch on the wheel and maybe save you. So that's a good tip right there. So the next step on the back side here, we've got a caliper pin right here, one down below. They're both 13 millimeters. We're gonna buzz those guys out real quick. All right, we got both caliper pins out. And your caliper, I can actually grab a hold of this one on the back and just pull it over. What I'm doing is I'm compressing that piston on the back side against the rotor here so that we can pull it off. I think I'm making some progress. If it's really stuck, you can get a screwdriver in between the vents here on your rotor and in the caliper there and use it to kind of pry the caliper over, and all you're doing is squishing that piston on the back side in. A little socket in behind here to give it some backing. Squish, and this might be the problem of why this hub was getting so hot if that caliper was stuck. But we're going to take a look at it and grease everything up. And with that, your caliper will fold away here, and like I said, my pads actually look really good. I can hang this up, but we're actually gonna have to work on it a little bit more. So I want to check that caliper, make sure it is in good shape. You want to hang it though, so you're not putting a lot of stress on your brake line. So the rotor actually looks, there's a few little ridges on it. I don't want to touch it because I don't want to have to clean it off. You want to keep your rotor clean. If you have grooves in it, some deep grooves, Your rotor will have to either be resurfaced or replaced. Honestly, a lot of people now, they just end up buying new rotors because you can get them fairly inexpensive, almost as much as having it resurfaced. Resurfaced might be a little cheaper, but a lot of times I'll end up just buying a new rotor because it's not that much more. And let's take a little closer look at the caliper here. We'll go ahead and pull off the brake pad here. This would be how if you were replacing brake pads, where these, you can see this actually has quite a bit of meat left on it still, so I'm not going to replace that. I can still smell it where it was burning. And our outside pad. Still plenty of meat on it. Now the caliper itself, I just want to make sure that this caliper has movement in it, so I'm actually going to grab a pair of pliers, big old set of pliers on there, and squeeze it, just make sure it'll move in and out. It doesn't look... There's a little bit of dirt and grime there, so maybe I'll clean that out just to make sure it has good movement. So I've got my big channel lock pliers here. I'm going to see if I can just squeeze this caliper in a little bit more by hand just to make sure it has movement. And yeah, it'll squeeze in. The other thing you got to check, you have to be watching your brake reservoir. Make sure you're not, because as you squeeze this caliper in, it's forcing fluid back up into the system. You want to make sure that doesn't overflow. But this squeezing at the caliper has movement, so that is good. The rubber bushings here for my caliper pins, caliper mounting bolts, these are good. Good movement, boots aren't tore, everything looks okay there. The other thing I'm looking at is the knuckle right where the caliper slides right along there and there. Well, actually the brake pad. So if I grab the brake pad here, I'm not touching the brake pad on the surface. You want to keep that clean. You don't want to get grease on it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to re-grease up the knuckle though, and I'm just making sure that these pads aren't getting stuck on the knuckle here. I'm going to take a wire brush, clean this off. There's a little lip right there. I actually might grind that off and just smooth that out. And then grease up this without getting grease on the rotor or on your pad at all, just along where the pad here will slide, up top and down below. And there's the bottom of the knuckle. Obviously I took the rotor off, and I'm going to kind of grind that down to smooth it out. I think that might be part of my issue where I think the brake pad was getting stuck right there. We're going to see if we can get away with just grinding that knuckle, smoothing it out. If it doesn't work, we will end up having to buy a new knuckle and replace that. The steering knuckle is this whole part right back here. I'm also live streaming this, so I'm going to be talking to my live streamers as well. So, loud noise coming. You guys might want to turn the volume down here. Should have had a mask on the whole time too. Alright, there we go. We got that smoothed out, cleaned up. You can see real good there where that little notch is. I think I've got it smoothed out enough to where we'll be okay, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm looking at a new steering knuckle here in the near future. We'll see if it'll buy us some time though. And just a light little coating of grease on the top knuckle here. You don't want too much, because you don't want it slinging off and getting on your rotor or pads. So just a light little coat of grease on all those parts. And we're making sure the brake pads are sitting nicely on the knuckle, top and bottom, and on the back side that those rubber bushings aren't all bound up, that they're just sitting on there nicely. Got our top pin in, top caliper bolt, and we'll get our bottom bolt in. And you want to make sure you get these in threaded in finger tight so that they're threaded properly. I cross-threaded one of these once and it was a big pain. These brake caliper bolts on the back, we're going to torque them to 132 inch-pounds. Alright, calipers on, rotors on, everything looks great. We're all greased up, smoothed out. Hopefully that resolves our issue. We can throw our wheel back on. We're gonna torque these guys to 90 foot-pounds and we're gonna alternate sides, kind of doing it in a star pattern as you go around. All right, got those all torqued down nicely. The next thing we need to do, we gotta check the fluid reservoir, the brake fluid reservoir, top that off if needed, make sure it's not overflowing because we're compressing that caliper a bit. The other thing you gotta do when you're all done here, pump your brakes a few times. You are gonna have no brakes when you first get in there and you step on the brake the first time, it's just gonna be swoosh. So don't start driving, rolling back or something. Pump your brakes, get them set again. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out my next video right up here and have a good day.